Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Hladun. It is Thursday morning and I'm hanging out in front of our school passing out some packets for families, and I thought I would read a story from out here. So I thought I'd just kind of show you what it looks like around here. Our trees are blooming. We've got some leaves and some other trees, and the campus is super empty, but that's okay. We're going to read some stories and make the best of it, aren't we? Okay, here we go. Let's get this going. All right, so I brought one of my family's favorite books to read today. We used to read this all the time. It was actually my husband's #1 favorite book. So it is called Frog and Toad, and they have a couple different books. This one's Frog and Toad Together, and it was written by Arnold Lobel. So there's actually several stories in here, and I think I'll just read a few. So here we go. The first one is called A List, and it goes like this. One morning, Toad sat in bed. I have many things to do, he said. I will write them all down on a list so I can remember them. Toad wrote on a piece of paper, a list of things to do today, and then he wrote, wake up. I've done that, said Toad, and he crossed out wake up. Toad took his Toad took his clothes out of the closet and put them on. Then he crossed out get dressed. Toad put the list in his pocket. He opened the door and walked out into the morning. Soon Toad was at Frog's front door. He took the list from his pocket and crossed out go to Frog's house. Toad knocked at the door. Hello, said Frog. Look at my list of things to do, said Toad. Oh, said Frog, that is very nice. Toad said, my list tells me that we will go for a walk. All right, said Frog, I am ready. I wonder if you're going out for a walk today. It's a beautiful day to be outside. Frog and Toad went on a long walk. Then Toad took the list from his pocket again. He crossed out take walk with Frog. Just then there was a strong wind. It blew the list out of Toad's hand. The list blew high up into the air. Help, cried Toad. My list is blowing away. What will I do without my list? What do you think he's going to do? Do you have any predictions? Hurry, said Frog. We'll run and catch it. No, shouted Toad. I cannot do that. Why not? Asked Frog. Because, wailed Toad, running after my list is not one of the things that I wrote on my list of things to do. Frog ran after the list. He ran over the hills and swamps, but the list blew on and on. At last, Frog came back to Toad. I'm sorry, gasped Frog, but I could not catch your list. Blah, said Toad. Look, what a good friend Frog is trying to be, trying to catch his list. Oh, he looks sad, doesn't he? Frog seems like a good friend, don't you think? I cannot remember any of the things that were on my list of things to do. I'll just have to sit here and do nothing, said Toad. Toad sat and did nothing, and Frog sat with him. After a long time, Frog said, Toad, it's getting dark. We should be going to sleep now. Go to sleep, shouted Toad. That was the last thing on my list. Toad wrote on the ground with a stick, go to sleep, and then he crossed it out, go to sleep. There, said Toad, now my day is all crossed out. I'm so glad, said Frog. Then Frog and Toad went right to sleep. They're so silly. You see that? I think that's the end of that one. The end. All right, shall we read another one? This one's called The Garden. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. What a fine garden you have, Frog, he said. Yes, said Frog. It is very nice, but it was hard work. I wish I had a garden, said Toad. Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground, said Frog, and soon you will have a garden. How soon? Asked Toad. Quite soon, said Frog. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, now seeds, start growing. Oh, whoops, I skipped a page, you guys. Hang on, we're going to go back a page. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. Now seeds, said Toad, start growing. Toad walked up and down a few times, but the seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, now seeds, start growing. Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. So there he is walking on his ground, talking to his seeds and shouting at the ground. Do you think that's an effective strategy, friends? I don't know. Let's see what happens next. Toad put his head very close to the ground and started shouting, "Now, seeds, start growing!" Frog came running up the path. "What is all this noise?" he asked. "My seeds will not grow," said Toad. "You are shouting too much," said Frog. "These poor seeds are afraid to grow." "My seeds are afraid to grow?" asked Toad. There's him shouting at the ground again. Did you hear the bell ring? "Of course," said Frog. "Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow." I think that Frog is a good friend to Toad. He seems very wise, don't you think? That night, Toad looked out of his window. "Drat," said Toad. "My seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark." Toad went out to his garden with some candles. "I will read the seeds a story," said Toad. "Then they will not be afraid." Toad read a long story to his seeds. What do you think? Do you think that's going to work? All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds, and all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds, and all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. So he's singing and poeming and playing. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. "What shall I do?" cried Toad. "These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired and he fell asleep. "Toad, Toad, wake up," said Frog. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. Do you see them? See all those little seedlings? "At last," shouted Toad, "my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow. And now you will have a nice garden too," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad, "but you were right, Frog. It was very hard work." You see him? He's wiping his brow because he works so hard. The end. All right, well, we'll stop there. Maybe we'll read some more Frog and Toad together in the next couple of days. Hey, so this last story inspired me. I'll bet you that this would be a great time of the year to plant some seeds in your garden too. Maybe I'll do some of that around here on campus so we have some pretty flowers when we come back to school. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, and I can't wait to see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.